Yeah. Just unsubscribe now. Just do it. Because it's not going to be nice. This video is about your boy. It's about Yuji. And it's not looking good. Yuji is not a character. And I'll tell you why. That's what this whole video is about. So, let's get into it. So, let's take a step back. The other day, I was asking my 15-year-old cousin about the kind of anime he was watching. And he mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen. Something I've had experience with in the past. And I asked him what he thought about what he's seen so far. He said he's only seen the first season, first 24 episodes. This is before Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and all that. And I asked him what he thought about it. And he said it was dope. He said it was great. It was okay. And then I asked him what he thought about Yuji Itadori as a character. And before I input my own thoughts on what he had to say, I asked him what he truly thought about him, and he said, I don't really know what to feel about him. I thought that was weird. And I asked him, like, well, what do you think about his character? I didn't really feel anything from his character either, but why didn't you feel anything from him? And he said, it's because he's like, what is the word for it? It's like he's a shell. He's a shell of a character. I don't know who he is. And I was like, wow. Because that's the same thing that I've been thinking since I started the show, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time. It was when my cousin said that he felt like a shell of a character that I finally understood, that it all clicked. Like, this character Yuji doesn't have anything that makes him a fully fleshed out character. He's just the face of the show. He's a shell for a much better character, and that's Sukuna inside of him. And I really like Sukuna as a character. He's just evil incarnate, does whatever the fuck he wants, and fucks everything up as soon as he shows up. I like him so much better than Yuji and Gojo and Nanami and even Fushiguro. But Yuji, there's just nothing to his character. It's just that he's missing this one crucial element, which I'll get to in the video. But the thing about Yuji is that I can't relate to him. It's almost as if there's no substance there. Yuji isn't a bad character. He drops the hardest lines in the series. Especially when he's fucking up Mahito, he'll drop the hardest lines. And I'll clip to one right here. He drops the hardest line when he's fighting for Junpei. And then he drops the second hardest line in season 2 when he's about to smash up Mahito. But that doesn't equal a great character. The thing that Yuji is missing, apart from all the other great anime characters out there, is a guiding motivation. He's missing the one fundamental element that actually would put him in that class of characters that would elevate him above just being the face of the show, Jujutsu Kaisen. Because he's missing that one element, I can't really, there's nothing to grab onto him to follow him around as the main character. I don't know why I should care about what he's going through, why I should care about the fights that he's fighting, or why I should care about if he succeeds or not. Because there's no metric by which I can judge whether he has succeeded in his goal or failed. Besides what is in the moment of, I need to go help my friends, or I need to save these people. Besides that, there's no overarching goal that he's trying to strive for that gives me a benchmark to see whether he's actually succeeded in reaching that goal or not. And it doesn't even have to be very complex. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna be the #1 jujutsu sorcerer in the entire world, or I'm gonna be the jujutsu king. Like anything that you see in other anime or manga, it's not present here in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's not present in Yuji Itadori. He doesn't have that main guiding force that's pushing him to go throughout the series. Besides, oh, I am about to get executed. I want to keep living, and I don't want to die a pointless or meaningless death. I want to live and save others and that kind of thing. But that's not really that's not something for the readers to grab onto and say like, oh yeah, I really fuck with my boy Itadori. Like that, I just don't know what there is to grab onto him. Let's say, by contrast, we have the character Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, I would consider in the same class. They're two stories that, art-wise in the manga, they may not be the highest or the best developed, but the anime has elevated the story and the content so much that it makes it really exciting to watch as a viewer, and it has exploded their popularity exponentially more than the manga has, to the point where even Demon Slayer was beating out One Piece at a certain point. But Demon Slayer has this one difference that puts it above Jujutsu Kaisen for me personally, and that's Tanjiro's motivation. I can actually root for Tanjiro as a character because he has a driving force to propel him through the story, and I can root for him because I know whether he has failed or succeeded in that goal, because there's at least a benchmark, and that is that he wants to save his sister and possibly turn her back into a human, because his entire family was wiped out at the beginning of the story except for his sister. His sister was the only one left alive, but she was turned into a demon. And now Tanjiro becomes a demon slayer in order to find a cure for his sister's illness, you could say. By contrast, let's look at Yuji Itadori. At the beginning of the series, his grandpa dies. The end. I don't know what significance that had throughout the story for Itadori's character development, because it's almost never mentioned again. Maybe here and there it's mentioned. I watched all of season 1. Maybe here and there it's mentioned like, oh, grandpa died and made me believe that life is important or precious, or I should be strong and help others. But I only saw it mentioned one more time during season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen in the Shibuya arc, the Shibuya incident arc, which everyone said was supposed to be peak, but we'll get to that one day. I'll have to talk about that, because the animation one was a level above. We'll get to that one day. We'll get to that. But the thing is, Itadori's grandfather was never mentioned again in terms of how it affected his character and what he had as a motivation throughout the series. Whatever motivation that Itadori has is situational. It's situation based. Like, I gotta survive this, or I gotta fight this person, or I gotta do that. I don't know who he is as a character. I don't know who he is as a person. There's nothing I can grab onto. He just seems like a normal kind of fun-loving guy that is abnormally strong and is just all of a sudden a jujutsu sorcerer. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, he likes earthworm weird movies like that, and he's just kind of got a quirky personality. That's about it. And a nice red hoodie, you know, kind of give him some like unique, iconic character markers. But other than that, I really can't place anything on his character. And that's not just a Yuji problem. That's actually spread throughout the entire cast. I would argue that the cursed energy has more character development than Yuji Itadori. Half the dialogue is describing what cursed energy is and what it can do and who has this power and who has that power. I know more about cursed energy than I do about Yuji Itadori or any of the main cast, really. Like, he's literally half a character. If you remember back in episode 6 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, where this girl comes up and asks Nobara to get Yuji's contact information so that they can go out on a date. And then there's this flashback to when that same girl was fat and nobody liked her at school because she was fat. But then Yuji would notice her personality traits that even she didn't notice. It was like it was trying to show that Yuji is a good guy, and that was it. There wasn't any point to that scene at all. It never got mentioned throughout the series. It never got mentioned at the end of this arc. And then when Yuji and Yuko actually went out on a date, literally nothing came of it. Nothing happened. He walked her, I guess, to the train station, and she just kind of got on the train and left. And that was it. That was the entire interaction between the two. And it's like, I don't even know if I should be excited for Yuji that he's getting a girl or whatever, but it's like, okay, well, what was the point of that? I have no clue. If you contrast this to, let's say, Denji from Chainsaw Man, his main goal at the beginning of the series was to touch some boobs. That was his main goal. But I was hype about that. I was hype about, okay, let's see him actually accomplish his goal and see what kind of crazy, wacky shenanigans he's going to get into to accomplish it. And just something as simple as that was able to pull me into the character and get me on his side, because it's something that I can relate to as a young man, because that's the genre, that's shonen. They're trying to appeal to, I guess, guys like me. And so it's something I can relate to and attach some meaning to that character. And it's like, okay, now I know why I'm following this character and what is his benchmark for success or failure. But in Jujutsu Kaisen, it's like baking without an essential ingredient. See, in storytelling, it's kind of like baking, where if you're missing a fundamental element to the story, you're going to, the rest of the story, the cake will fall flat. And because Yuji is missing this one fundamental element to his character, I'm not able to identify with him or really get on his side, other than the fact that he's the main character. There's nothing else to him besides that. He's basically a half-baked character. And I'm not saying this to fault Gege Akutami. I'm not saying that he's a bad writer. I'm saying that he's missing that one ingredient that will elevate Yuji to a higher plane as a character. He's just not fully there. And like I said, he drops the hardest lines in the series. But those lines aren't earned to me. Especially when this guy, Junpei, died. Yuji wasn't even friends with him. As far as I know, he only knew him for 24 hours. And yet he drops the hardest line in most shonen that I've ever read. Like, I was like, yo, this guy Yuji, he's really about to fuck him up. But then it was for this character that he only knew for like 24 hours. Less than that. I counted. Okay, no, I didn't. I forgot how long he knew him. It might have been 24 to 72 hours. A guy he knew for 3 days. And he drops the hardest line in any shonen that I've ever seen. That line that he said would have been reserved for Gon when he was fighting Pito. I'm not going to spoil what happens then, but that line should have been dropped near the end of the series. So I wasn't able to fully get behind him in that moment because there wasn't I couldn't really, there wasn't that much backing, there wasn't much backing behind Yuji as a character to really merit that line being said. There wasn't that much backing behind Yuji's relationship with the character Junpei to really back that up. Maybe with someone like a childhood friend, somebody he knew from childhood that he could really, that we were really understanding of his anger behind, maybe that would make more sense. But because we don't we barely know the character, he's not even a very likable character, to be honest, Junpei. And Itadori doesn't know him that well. So that when he drops that line, it's like, okay, I mean, that's a really hard, really cool line, but there isn't enough behind this character to really merit or warrant that line. And we just don't feel, I mean, me personally, I just didn't feel like, okay, well, this is somebody that is really feeling it at this moment. But that's the main strength of the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen. He's really good at creating these hype moments, or really good at creating hype battles and fights. And the show is literally called Sorcery Fight, or Jujutsu Kaisen. So it's mainly about sorcery. It's mainly about the power system and how it works. But it doesn't have that secret element that makes me care about how the powers work. If I don't care about your main character and what he wants, then I don't really care that much about the power system. And it's also confusing as hell, but we'll get into that at some point. Like with Hunter x Hunter, you know Gon wants to go see his dad. That's his main goal throughout the whole series. You know, with Naruto, Naruto's goal is to become Hokage. That's his main goal throughout the whole series. So now you know whether he succeeds or not, and now you know why you should follow him all the way to the end. With, let's say, Demon Slayer, his goal is to defeat the demons and fix his sister, basically. We know the benchmark for success or failure because we know Tanjiro, we know his goal. With Chainsaw Man, his goals are mainly sexual. He just wants to touch some boobs or get a girlfriend. But at least there's something there for us to get behind. And I'm afraid Yuji just doesn't have it. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. And other than that, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and peace out. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to board up my walls and barricade my windows because it's about to be a flame war in the comments, and I don't want y'all to have to see that. Peace.